Hello everyone! I will explain you how to create your own portfolio website with React and Tailwind. React.js for structuring our components and Tailwind CSS for styling. It's important to point out that we are not doing any JavaScript functions in this project, at least I can't think of any, if yes, maybe really small one. And I will try to keep it as simple as possible. I will try to explain everything. Let's dive right into it. Also, let's download these extensions. First one is this ES7. And the second one and the main one is IntelliSense, and it's this one, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. These two extensions are really important, so let's download them. Let's click on the navigation there in VS Code, then on Terminal, and then on New Terminal. And there we will now use some commands to start our project. And I will leave them in the description, so you can just take them and execute it in order I did. First, we will use this one to create a React app. Now we can see happy hacking, of course, that's what we will do. Then we will use this one, npm install Tailwind CSS. Then we will use npx Tailwind CSS and initialize. We got this file, and that is important because next thing what we will do in this content, we will put HTML, JS and JSX. That means basically this JSX, we will create components that we will later use on our page. And now the last command for starting our page is npm start. Let's press it. It will open a server for us and it will open the page. But there is still nothing because we need to go to this source and we need to actually write there something on our page. But before we do that, we need to delete the unnecessary files, and that will be app.css, this one. Let's just say we will leave there app.js, index.css and index.js like this. And then you can see now on our page we have there multiple errors. What we will do is that we will need to get rid of them. And how to get rid of them? So for now, because we don't want to use this code that is there, we will just delete it, and that will solve the errors for us. But we also need to leave something on our page, so there we will just put hello, and we will also need to delete this logo and app.css. We will go to index.js, delete there this, and we can see two errors there. So that is this logo implementation, we deleted it, so we can delete it also there. And also it's this app.css from this app.js file, and there now we can see our hello. Then also what we need to do is to copy these three things into index.css, Tailwind base, components and utilities. If you check the Tailwind page itself, it's also there what you exactly need to do, how to start your project, and this is one of the things. Also what we will do is that we will import the font there. Then for the wall body, I will set this background color. I will set font weight to 800. And I will use the font family of my font and also a backup font in case this font won't be loadable, sans serif. Now for every span tag and also for a CSS class primary color, I will define this linear gradient text color. I'm using their background image of linear gradient, but also with this WebKit background clip and with this color transparent, it will make not a background, but the text of a linear gradient color. Then I will define background primary color, and there won't be any WebKit or so this will be really for a background, and we will use it for example for a button or so. Now we will create their new folder, and that will be assets. We will create another folder, and that will be components, and in this assets folder I will be putting images, and then I will use these images on my page. In this components folder we will be putting all the components, and then we will be using them in this app.js. So let's start with the first component, and that will be a Navbar.jsx. There in this navbar, you will use this keyword, arrayfce. You will hit enter, and it will prepare this template for you. Now when you will save it and go back to app.js, there you can start typing navbar with the tag, of course. Then you will click on it or enter, and it will automatically import this component to this About.js for you. Then let's just do a slash and finish this tag. And then whatever I will write in this navbar, so let's write there something we can actually see on the page. Let's give it a text white. Now we can see it on our page. Let's start with the navbar. First we will need to import, and we will import this React and use state from React. This use state is a hook that we will use for our navigation. We will change the button with it and open the navigation on mobile phones. Then we will import two icons from React icons/AI. We need to import them or install them. So let's again open the terminal, and there we now need to use the command and install these React icons, so then we can use them. There we are using the use state hook to create the state variable called nav and its corresponding setter function setNav. And we are initializing this value to false with this use state false. So inside this div we will continue with writing another text, and we will start with this div. And this div is basically the hamburger menu icon. What is it saying there is that on a smaller screen, because Tailwind, everything you define in Tailwind CSS is taken from the mobile design basically. It's mobile first. When we define their block, that means on the smallest screen or the mobile, it will be shown, and then when we increase the screen size bigger than 768 pixels, we'll get this menu or hamburger menu hidden. And inside these blocks, we are using a ternary operator. That means if this navigation, if this variable is true, AI outline close, we imported it from there, and in case it's false, so it's not clicked, so it's this default state that we use there, it will be shown as this AI outline menu. And I started with this to explain. Now I will show you how to define the onClick function that will be handling the clicks. So if we will click on this icon, it will set the navigation variable. We will name this handle nav. So every time we will click on this, it will call this function, and in this function we define there, and it will be setting this navigation to another value. So it will be started as false. So on smaller screen we will have there this outline menu because it's in the ternary operator on the right side of this column, and that is false. And if it gets clicked, it will be true, and in ternary operator that's the first position, so this close. And it will be changing because of this function whenever we will click on that. Let's start with our desktop navigation bar, and I will move the window there, down there, so you can see it. And with H1 tag, we can think of it as some logo. In our case will be John Doe, and then unordered list with the menu items inside. In order to see what we are actually doing there, we can use their background white and save it to see how our navbar is positioned. We will use the flexbox layout. Now we can do the justify between. That means we will do spacing between this H1 and between this unordered list. Then we will continue with items to center. That means we will align them vertically. And then we will use max width of 1240 pixels. And there you can see how it won't get any bigger than this value. What we will do then is use mx auto, and that means horizontal line, and it's set to auto. So if we will save it, you can see how we got our navigation bar in the middle, because the margin from left and right got there automatically. Then we will set height to 24, and that is for the height of the navigation bar. Then we set px to 4, so padding from left and right will be to 1 rem. And then we will set text L, that means we will increase the text size in our navigation bar. In our logo, we don't even need this width to full. And there we are increasing the text size again with text to 3XL, so this now applies mainly to these list items. We are also for our logo setting the font to bold, so we are increasing the font weight. Then we are using this primary color, which we defined there in index.css, there, primary color. So you can see how it's linear gradient right now, and then we are using margin to left of 4, so it's around 1 rem. This is how the mobile version looks like, and you can see that we defined there to hide this unordered list, and on a small screen it's hidden. But when it gets past this medium, it again gets to display flex. So let's pass it, and there you see we have there our unordered list. And when we click this, you can see that this handle nav function is working. In case it's true or false, this gets changed to the outline close. Now we will copy what we created from there and put it there into new div, and that div, so it's this one, will have a class name. And in this class name, we will put these curly brackets, and inside we will again use this ternary operator. We will put there the variable name, which is nav, and in case, well, then the question mark, then the column, and on the first position is something that will execute in case this variable is true, and on the second position is something that will execute if the variable is false. In case it's false, this navigation will get out of the screen. It will get left minus 100%. So now as it's false, the navigation is somewhere over there, let's say, minus 100% on left. But when we will click it, we need to define how this will look like. So there, into this single quote, we will now define the style, what should happen when we will click it. Let's now put there, for example, background white. Save it. And you can see when I click it, it gets the background white. But of course, something that we don't want. As this will be a bit longer, let's put this on the second line, somewhere there. First, we want to set text to gray 300. That means it will be gray like this. The higher value, for example, we put there 900, the more gray text we will have. So let's stick with the 300. Then we will use position fixed. Also, we will set height to full, so 100%. That means it will take the full height of our viewport height. Then we will set left and top to 0. That means it will be in this left corner every time. Then we will set width to 60%. Then we will use border on the right side there and set its color to gray 900. We will use a background for this. Navigation bar, I will use this color. And then we will use ease in out. That means if we will click it, it will slide in like this. And for this also we need to set the duration, so I set there 500. And these texts are copied. Only thing that is changed is for the logo there. It's not margin left, so ML, it's just M, so the margin. So it's also from the top, and we have there margin to 1 rem. Now let's remove the background color of white, save it, and what else we need? Setting text to gray. What about 300? Maybe 500? Yeah, that looks better. So now our navigation bar is there and will look like this. And we can move to next component. New component, new file, Hero.jsx. Inside we will use this word, enter, save, go to About.jsx. There we will start typing hero, enter it, close it. Now we have it there, imported, that is important. And we can start writing a code there. But before we do, let's add some assets. And into these assets, I will add these images. I will put them on GitHub so you can take it and you can replicate what I'm doing. This profile picture I will be using, I downloaded on pexels.com. And then in Canva, I added these elements behind it and download it as a transparent background. First, what we will do in our Hero.jsx component, we will import these three things. First will be the profile picture, there is the name of it, from assets, there is the path, then the icons. I will use again, this is what we already installed, React icons. And then we will also use this type animation that will make our text on the hero page moving and typing all over again. and we have there an error on our page, as you can see. What we need to do is to again install this React type animation library. Then in terminal we will use this command and it will download the things for us. We will create the div first, and inside this div we will create two another divs. And one will be with text, that we'll define after I explain this, and second one will be with image. So the bigger div that is containing these two, we can set background to white so we can see on the page how big is it actually. We will define first the max width. We will again use 1200 pixels. Then we will define the height. We will use 80 viewport height. Then we will use margin X to auto. That means without this it won't be centered. Then we will use the flexbox layout and we'll use flex column reverse. And this means that we cannot see this now because we are then using this SM, so small screen, and setting their flex row, so it's actually displaying next to each other. Let me take a smaller screen there. And there you can see that this flex call reverse is applied because this image should otherwise be below. You can see there is the second div, not the first one. And we want this because, yeah, probably better to see the image first and then the text. Then we will use justify center, so we center it horizontally, and align center to center it vertically. Without this, you will see it's not centered at all. Then we are getting to first div with text. This is just a placeholder, and the second one that will actually stay is again using margin auto to the vertical position and image itself. We are using there this variable profile image or profile picture, that is the thing we imported. We are setting there alt, that means if this image won't be loadable, what will be shown, it's needed, so let's use there something like profile picture. And then we are setting the width of the picture to 300 pixels, that is actually width for the small screen, because, and I will be repeating myself probably more often, so you will understand it. On the small screen, on the mobile screen, it's what Tailwind takes first. So first will be taken 300 pixels, and then from smaller screen it will be increased to 500 pixels. Go there and we will increase it. You can see the picture is now being 500 pixels. We will put margin to horizontal to auto. We will use height to also auto, so this picture won't get shrinked or anything like that because its height will be automatic. To its width, and we actually won't use this rounded fill. That will be it for the picture. Now I will explain you this whole div I added. Let's start there. I will add there this background blue so you know what I'm talking about. First I will use flex to column, so all these text tags will be below each other. Then I will center it vertically and horizontally with this margin Y and margin X. Next one is a p tag with hi, I'm John Doe, and this one we will set to text XL, so the font size will be something around 1 rem. Then we use font bold and text color will be gray 200, and on small screen we will increase this text size, and on medium screen we will increase it even more. So now you can see how the text size is increasing. This is a small screen and this is a medium screen. So I hope it's clear. And we can move to H1 tag that is actually using our type animation there. Again, similar like in this p tag, we are starting with text for XL, and also on the medium screen we want to increase the vertical padding by 6. That means when we get to medium screen, you can see how the padding of this type animation increased on top and bottom. Then we are using this type animation, we import it there, and there we need to use these values. Sequence, there we will put the values we want to be written, like there on the animation. So first will be front-end dev, then a web designer, there consultant, and there is the value of how long it should take to have this written. Then we have wrapper span, which is a wrapper for this type animation, the speed, and the repeat to infinity. So if you will have this page open, it will be doing this in an infinite loop cycle. That is for the h1 tag with this typing animation. We can continue to another div. With Flexbox layout, I'm centering it horizontally and vertically. Also inside it, I have a p tag, and again, same thing that I used before, starting with text XL and then increasing the text size on each screen. And also I set there some color of the text and font bold. And there I have the with a 5+ years experience. Then I'm continuing to another div with the icons. We are using this LinkedIn, GitHub and Instagram icon that we imported from this library, React Icons. And last div in this text section is this div with a button. And this first div inside is the glowing functionality around the button, and the second is button itself. For this div, we have it position relative. So it's relative for this absolute positioning of this div. Then we have there for the inline display, and also we are using there the group. And that means we are grouping this div with this tag, and also vertical margin to 3. Let's first go on to this button. We will leave the href like this. The link to this CV download, maybe if it's some drive or something, up to you. We set there width and height. Then we will set there again the relative positioning and inline flex. We will center this button text to center with items and justify center. Padding to left and right will be set to 8, and padding to top and bottom will be set to 4. We will use a large text setting, font bold and text color to white. Then we will set transition and duration to 200. Then background primary color that we defined there in this index.css. Then we will use rounded.xl, that means the border radius will be set to something around almost 1 rem. And then we have there the focus things. So when we will focus it, we will set outline to none, ring to 2, that means the shadow. If you will hover over it, you can see it there. Then we will change the color of the focus and also width of the focus. We are using absolute there, so we can position it to this relative element. Transition all, so it's applied to all elements. For some transitions we are definitely want to use for this. Then duration and opacity setting. Then this class, insetpx, it offsets the element from all sides by -1 pixel. Then we have the colors there, rounded XL, border radius, and we are then setting the blur, and then we are using to group hover again for the elements to set different opacity, inset, duration, and then the last class we actually don't need because that's from another library. And that's it for the button. Now let's go a bit up and delete this background to white that we used. Also delete this background to blue. On our page you can see that the menu button is not working, and as we clicked it, we now can think that it's probably because this image is overflowing to the navigation bar and this button is behind it. How we can fix it? We have two ways and we will probably use both. First one is go to our navbar and set there a z index, for example 10, because we want this navbar to always be on top. And then if we go back to our hero component, we will set their vertical margin to 7, and that will be for the smallest screen. And then when the screen is increased to a small size, we will set again this margin to 0, because now you can see how it works, because this picture gets to the right side, so we don't need it anymore. Let's increase the spacing there in our navigation bar. We will put there something like, I don't know, 5 maybe. Let's try. And by the way, one thing I actually did wrong. If you hold Alt and click on all these lines, then you can write there at the one time. Even Tailwind recommends it to do, so yeah, it definitely saves you a lot of time. Let's use 5, and I think it looks so much better. Now let's see how on the small screen it looks like. Also fine. Okay, now we can move forward. Let's create their new file. It will be about section. Let's use the word there. Save it. go there to our application, about. It got imported there, that is important. Let's go back to our component, and we can start writing there. First we will import our image from the assets. It will be about image. We will first set vertical padding to 10, then text to white, then different background. Then in the first section, let's set this height to auto, and let's do the same thing in our hero section. So there, on the first div where is defined some class, we will set height to auto. That means the content won't be overflowing into another section actually. Now I added this div inside and then two divs into it. I will explain them in a minute. First let's go to this one, and I needed to add these two divs now for explaining to you because I'm using their flex column reverse. From the smallest screen or from the mobile device, it's in reverse. Now you can see that first should be image, but instead of it is first the text. And then when I expand this page, so after small screen it gets to the left and then it stays like that. I'm also using their gap between these two divs we have there. I'm also using their max width and horizontal margin to auto, so it's centered in the middle. Then for the image we are setting just width and height, but maybe interesting thing there is the filter that we are setting, because this image was too bright and I set there a filter grayscale and decreased the brightness to 50, so it makes the image like this, more gray, and it more fits to our page design. In another div I have the lorem ipsum text, and then I will add there more divs. Again, nothing so much interesting, setting the text colors, padding, margin, and for the span I don't actually need to use this class because I defined it in a span that even only the span tag will have this gradient color. I will make there a spacing, so we have the space between about and me. Now I opened this div that is holding this lorem ipsum, and inside it I put this one, and inside this div I put another one that is holding this 11 plus project thing. We are using flex, margin to top, and also we are centering the items vertically. We are using a gap of 7 between them. For each of these boxes we will set a bit different background, and then /40 means that we will lower the opacity. Then it creates this card effect. Also we will set there a rounded large, change the border radius, and inside we will put heading 3 with a p tag, and for the heading we will add again text size. On medium screen we will increase the text size, then we can add font weight, text to white, and for the plus sign there we can use the span tag. That means again I don't need this class, I defined it later, so that's why I still have it there. And we don't need also this. And that means this plus or this sign we will have there will get color of our primary color. And then we have the p tag there. I will have there project, and again we use the lower text and we are increasing the text with the screen size. Then we will copy this div 2 more times and we will change it to another values. And I just changed the text to 5+ years experience and then 30+ happy clients. And that's it. Let's create a new component over there. New file, Work.jsx. Let's use the word. Save it in About.js. Let's edit. Like this it gets imported. And we can start there. In our new component we will first import the project pictures from our assets. Then we will start with the first div. We will add vertical padding to 6. We will set there a max width of 1200 pixels. That means after we increase the screen even more, the section will still have the max width. And also we will set there the horizontal margin to auto, so we have our section centered. In next div, again, we are centering it with margin X to auto. Then we are also setting horizontal padding to 4, and on medium screen we are increasing this horizontal padding to 8. Then we have there 2 divs, and the second one will be actually holder for our project images. but the first one is for this text that you can see there with the my projects and so on. We are setting there merging to button. We are using flexbox layout for aligning items vertically and also justify between, so we have some spacing between them. We actually don't need this gap over there. And then we will continue with next div. There we are again using flexbox layout because we want to have these below each other. If we didn't put there flex column and there will be flex row, you can see how it's next to each other. So we want there the column. We will set there some gap. If this again won't be here, there won't be any space. And then we will continue. We have there h2 tag and p tag. In h2 tag, again, we are playing only with text color and text size. Again, using there the span tag that already has predefined CSS the gradient color. And then paragraph tag using only some more grayish color, putting there the description for this section. Let's go to this more interesting div that is holding our project images. There we are using the grid layout, and from the smallest screen we are defining there 2 columns. That means if you will have there some pictures, there will be always 2 pictures shown next to each other. We can also set there or totally delete this one, and when we will add the pictures it will be only 1 column, and then you can see as we increase it to small screen it will be 3 columns. We can choose, maybe we can stay with 1, or maybe we can also do there the grid columns to 2, save it, and we will have there it like this. Maybe I will leave it like this, probably yes. And now we can move to pictures itself. We will use anchor tags because maybe these links should, or these pictures should redirect you to a live demo. And all these 4 anchor tags are almost the same. Only thing that is different there is that on the large screen, or maybe even medium screen, these 2 projects or images are taking more columns because you can see how the layout looks, right? Let's go. I will first explain this first image, and then I will explain you only the differences in the other images, and we will wrap this page up. I had a page over this class, I'm sorry for that. We have there the grid, and using the grid columns on the smallest screen, like there. Then we have there the gap set, and from a small screen it's getting to grid columns 3. But why there are actually basically only 2 pictures next to each other? And that is the difference. What is happening there is that on this second I'm using from the medium screen column span 2, and that means it's taking the width of 2 columns. That means there are still grid columns 3, but these 2 projects are taking 2 of them, and that creates this layout. That is the only difference. Then all these things are just copied, but of course the source is changed. And I will explain only this first project because it applies to all the other ones, with only the difference in this medium column span 2 for these 2. There we are grouping the elements, and we are using overflow hidden, so we make sure this image is not getting in any way out of this card. And also we are using there this border radius around it, shadow around our card, and when screen gets past medium we are changing the height to 80, and we are starting of course there with 48. Then for the image itself we are setting its height and width to full. We are setting object cover, that means the image is sized to our wall card, and also object center, so we see the center of the image. And we are setting there a transition and duration because we are using there a group hover with this scale, and that means when we will hover over our image it creates this effect. And that will be it for this work component. Let's move to another one, and that will be experience. Let's create there a new component. Experience, use the word, save it. There we will start typing it. It will get imported. Now let's go back and start. Nothing needs to get imported there, and again there will be only, let's say, 2 divs, and then we will copy them, and that will make our section complete. we are setting vertical padding to 10 and also a background color. Then with H2, we are using the span text you can see there for the experience, so it gets highlighted. I will increase it and move it down. Then we are using margin to bottom to 8, text size, text color, and text to center. Otherwise, if we want to use text to center, it will be on the start. And then to the diffs. For this one, I'm using fixed margin to bottom to 20 pixels. I'm also setting there text color. We actually don't need the relative positioning there. And we are setting for this experience, for this card, some background. And this /20 means we are setting opacity to 0.2. Then we are using border radius and max width. If we don't use this max width, look what happens. Yeah, it will be all over the page. And we are using this horizontal margin to auto, otherwise it won't be centered. Then there are the paragraphs, and I'm using their different gray colors. First one is 400, second one is 500. Continuing to another div, that is the connector between our experience cards. I'm using their fixed height of 50 pixels, width of only 2 pixels as it's just a thin connector. Then I'm using their background of some grayish color, and also I'm using their vertical margin from top and bottom to 1, and I'm centering it again. If I don't do this, it's somewhere on the page. And what we will do now, we will just copy these. Let's do it. And one time. So we will do their first, second, third, and fourth company. Of course, you don't need the last div because you don't need to connect it anywhere. Then it will be like this, and we can just change the names to second company and so on. But it's not that important for us right now. Let's check how the page will look like on a smaller screen, on a mobile screen. And with this really simple section, we can move to another one. Actually, let's just set max width to maybe 300. So then it looks like this. But let's do their small screen and keep there the, what was there previously? 600. So let's just take this, put it like this. So on our large screen, it's still the same. Now we have it like this. And when we will increase it, it's still the same. Of course, now we need to copy this for all the cards. There, there, and there. We are almost at the end. This will be a contact section. Let's use the word. Let's import it there. We have it. For contact form, we don't need to import anything, and we will start there with these divs. The first div will be with flags, where we will justify content horizontally on center. Then we will use vertical margin to 5. On a mobile screen, we will set height to 100%, so it will take the full viewport height. And on smaller screen and then on the larger and larger screen, we will take only 70 of viewport height. And also we will align items vertically. On the next div, we will set the max width of 1200 pixels, and we will center the content that will be in our contact form horizontally. Then we will use empty div, and inside we will put another one, and that will be a grid layout. And in this grid layout, we will start on the mobile screen again. It will have only one column, and on medium and larger screens, we will use 2 columns. Actually, we don't need that empty div. Let's delete it, and let's continue first with our Contact Me card. So we will add some padding, margin to right. We will set some background. We will make border radius to almost 1 rem. Then we will use display flags because we want to flex these headings and p tags under themselves and justify around. That means we will have even spacing around each element. We will start with this heading 1. There will be again some text size and text color. Me will be in the span text. Then we'll have the paragraph there. Again, only text sizes and color. No need to have font medium there. Then I will use there the break line, so it's on another line. And then I will have there the icon and div with the name that will be next to icon. And for the name there, we don't need this semibold, but this tracking white, we will just increase the letter spacing a bit. Now let's move to form itself. We are using their method post. So when we will add there an action later, we will actually post the data. And class, we will use some padding, flex, so we can do the flex column. That means all these inputs will be below each other. Then we are horizontally centering these, and we are setting max width of 700 pixels. There for each input, again, it will be almost the same. We are just setting these type and name and IDs. It will be name, email, message. And then there is the button, but we will get to it. And we are setting there the placeholders, which is of course for the name, email and message kind of obvious. And the class, we are setting there some width, margin to top, vertical padding, horizontal padding, so we can actually do this. Then we are setting the border radius, background and the border itself. And that's the same for all the inputs. For the button of type submit, there is less classes. We have there the width from medium screen set to 32. Actually, now seeing the UI, maybe we can delete it. And then again the same things, padding, margin to top, border radius and text color. And now let's make this form work. Let's go to this page, app.getform.io/login. Then we will sign up, click on create there, put there some name and put there the time zone, copy this endpoint, put it in this form action, put there values for our contact form and submit. It will throw us on this page. We will click back to this page and the email is there. That will be it for the contact form, and now we can move to footer, and that is our last section. Let's create a Footer.jsx, use the word there, save, go to app, write it there, click, close, save, we are set. And now, first we will import these two icons from React Icons FA. And on our div, we will put their margin to top for 12. We will set some max width. We will set border top and its color, and we will put text to center. Inside, we will put paragraph tag with vertical margin to 5 and text grade to 500. We'll also put their break tag between these values, so it's on another line. And then the next div will have inline flex, so all these icons are next to each other in a row. And text grade to 500 again, some gap between them, and also we will increase the font size, so we will increase the icons. And that will be it even for this footer. If every section would go like this, it would be absolutely great, but unfortunately it just takes some time. Now let's do the final updates in the navbar. Now we know the sections. We need to add anchor text to our list items and then put the thing inside. So first will be home, then will be about, then will be work, then will be experience, and then will be contact. We have the anchor text, and it will have hashtag, and every time it will have name of that section. But we didn't put the IDs to our sections yet, so let's do it now. In about, we put their ID about, in contact, ID contact, in experience, ID experience, and then of course for the home page, ID home, and last one is work, ID work. Now in the navbar, we go there, we will save it. We will also use the same thing for the mobile navigation. Maybe what will be the fastest way is to copy this, put it there, then with the Alt button, select it like this and put there back the 2. I will mark all the list items and I will hit tab, and it will again style it as it was before. Now I'll save it and we can test if it works. And yes, the navigation seems to work. Work, Experience, and Contact. Also, I see there is the issue with this button. So the thing that we will do is to go to our VS Code, add z-index then to this mobile navigation in our navbar file. And if we go back, then it will be fixed. And now the mobile navigation will be on top of it. And that's it for the wall page finally. Let's check how it looks like. And I also guess you are about to leave. So if you enjoyed this session, write me in the comments or give it a thumbs up so I have some feedback. And I hope I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Cheers.